History remembers the names of the great explorers, but for decades it forgot the man who actually led the way. While the world cheered for Admiral Robert Peary, the man who stood at the center of the world first, the man who spoke the language, drove the dogs, and built the sleds, remained in the shadows. His name was Matthew Henson. He was an orphan who fled the Jim Crow South to become a master mariner, a survival expert, and the first human to set foot on the Geographic North Pole. This is the story of the strategic genius and physical resilience of the man who conquered the most hostile environment on Earth. Matthew Alexander Henson was born in 1866 in Charles County, Maryland, just after the Civil War. Orphaned by age 11, he walked to Washington, D.C. to find work, eventually making his way to Baltimore, where the call of the ocean changed his life forever. At age 12, he signed on as a cabin boy on the merchant ship Katie Hines. Under the mentorship of Captain Childs, Henson didn't just scrub decks. He received a masterclass in navigation, seafaring, and geography. By the time he was a young man, he was a highly skilled mariner who had seen the world from China to North Africa. In 1887, Henson was working as a clerk in a Washington, D.C. hat shop when he met Robert Peary, an ambitious officer in the U.S. Navy Civil Engineering Corps. Peary was looking for an assistant for a surveying expedition to Nicaragua. Impressed by Henson's maritime experience, Peary hired him on the spot. It was the beginning of a 22-year partnership. But Henson quickly proved he was far more than an assistant. He was a strategic asset. In the jungles of Central America, his resourcefulness became legendary. When Peary turned his sights toward the last great unconquered frontier, the North Pole, he knew he couldn't do it without Henson. In 1891, they embarked on their first Arctic expedition together. While others struggled with the cold, Henson studied it. He realized that Western technology was no match for the Arctic. To survive, they had to learn from the experts, the Inuit people of Greenland. This was Henson's first great strategic move, immersion into a culture that had mastered the impossible. Henson did what Peary could not. He became one with the Inuit people. He learned their language, their hunting techniques, and their methods of survival. He became so proficient that the Inuit gave him a name, Mahri Pahluk, the kind Matthew. Henson became the vital bridge between the expedition and the locals. He negotiated for supplies and dogs, and he learned the art of Inuit sled building and dog driving, eventually becoming more skilled than any Westerner alive. Without Henson's ability to communicate and adapt, the mission would have ended in the snow. The North Pole was a moving target of shifting ice and sub-zero temperatures. Henson was the expedition's master mechanic. He redesigned the sleds to be lighter and more durable, and he maintained the stoves and equipment that kept the team alive in -50-degree weather. His excellence was so absolute that Peary later wrote, "Henson must go with me, I can't make it without him." While Peary provided the funding and the ambition, Henson provided the technical mastery and the physical grit. For over a decade, success eluded them. They faced starvation, frostbite, and the death of their sled dogs. In one expedition, Peary lost several toes to frostbite, requiring Henson to literally pull him on a sled for hundreds of miles. These failures would have broken most men, but Henson's resilience was strategic. Every failure was a lesson in logistics, food caching, and timing. They were waiting for the perfect window of weather and health. By 1908, it was now or never. In February 1909, the final expedition departed. Peary established a system of support teams that would drop off supplies and then turn back. One by one, the white members of the expedition were sent south. For the final 133-mile dash to the pole, Peary chose only 5 men to accompany him, Matthew Henson and 4 Inuit men, Uta, Egegingwa, Siglu, and Uquia. Peary chose Henson because, as he put it, Henson was the only one who could actually get them there and back alive. On the morning of April 6th, Henson was out ahead of the main party, scouting the trail. When he stopped to check his position, he realized the ice beneath his feet was the top of the world. Matthew Henson had reached the North Pole first. When a weary Peary caught up, Henson reportedly greeted him saying, "I think I'm the first man to sit on top of the world." It was a moment of supreme achievement, but it also planted the seeds of a lifelong rift. Peary, obsessed with being the discoverer, was privately devastated that his assistant had beaten him to the mark. They returned to America as heroes, but the glory was lopsided. Peary was promoted to admiral and given the congressional thanks. Matthew Henson, the man who had physically led the way, was largely ignored. He spent the next 30 years working as a humble clerk in the New York Customs House. Because he was black, the scientific community and the press refused to acknowledge his role as a co-explorer. He was relegated to the status of a servant in the history books, despite having been the most skilled member of the team. Truth, like ice, eventually thaws. In his later years, the black community and a new generation of explorers fought for Henson's recognition. In 1937, he was finally made an honorary member of the prestigious Explorers Club. In 1944, he was awarded a Congressional Medal. Today, he is buried in Arlington National Cemetery, right next to Robert Peary, finally standing as an equal in death as he was in life. Matthew Henson proved that a man from the most humble beginnings could master the most unforgiving place on Earth through sheer intellectual and physical excellence. Matthew Henson was the master of the North, a man whose strategic skills were the difference between life and death. If you were inspired by his incredible journey, please like this video and subscribe to Lives in Time. We are dedicated to bringing the stories of these unseen giants to light. Click the notification bell so you never miss an episode of history's greatest achievers.